This week on Dumb Pitches, my guest is Andy Haynes, and it is a fantastic episode. We get some comedy insight, and if you're in too much debt, you could just go to Utah and buy crystals to sell them at the farmer's market. It doesn't go well, but it's a good episode. Here we go. Dumb Pitches.
What a bunch of dumb pitches. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to another episode of Dumb Pitches with Monica Nevi. I'm Monica Nevi, your host. You're the host. I'm the host. This is the show where we have to talk to successful people about their worst ideas. I've never stumbled through this.
It's okay.
You're making me nervous.
Yeah. Alpha
yeah, it's
energy.
the alpha. You said that, and I
Yeah.
was like, well, shit. My guest this week, very excited, very funny, and a good alpha dude, Andy Haynes, is here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Longtime friend.
Yes.
I've known you for like 15 years or something.
I mean,
like that.
I've been doing stand-up for 12, so somewhere around
12
that.
is probably right
12's
then.
probably
I didn't know
right.
you before it.
I don't think so, but we're both from Seattle area,
Uh-huh.
so, that counts.
And I remember we did some kind of regional bad gig. I'm sure like that's how I got to know you.
Yeah.
Was like, we had to go to like some small wet place.
Yeah.
Where people
didn't really
like what we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being in the car with you for some reason.
Yeah, that was probably it.
Yeah,
we probably
and
drove to
then-
like Olympia or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right, actually.
Doing some John Fox.
Doing some John Fox gig, probably. And that was pretty soon into when he liked me for a while
Uh-huh.
and was like, man, we got to have you headline. And then I emailed him and was like, hey, here's some dates for me to headline. And he was like, I don't know if you're ready for that. I was like, you said this.
You brought it up.
Yeah, why would I? Anyways. Okay, we do like to give people your credits, your good ideas first, so they know you haven't only had bad ideas. So,
Okay.
hilarious comedian from Seattle. Now you live in New York. That's not a credit. You've been on Comedy Central.
Mm-hmm.
You have a new special called The Coward of Gramercy.
Yes.
You have a podcast called Find Your Beach.
I don't do it anymore, but it is my podcast.
And you could still
you can
listen
still
to
listen to it.
I
It was
guess.
a pandemic podcast that my wife got too busy.
Okay, yeah, that's you have a cool, successful wife.
Yeah,
yeah. Lots of stuff. I mean, yeah, you just and you're writer, podcaster, comedian, actor. All the things are in
Everything.
there.
I've done as much as you can without being actually successful.
That's a feat.
I've scraped by right below successful for a very long time.
It's hard to do.
I know. You got to make all of the wrong choices.
Well, good. It would be good for this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about it before. Just maybe being a little bit late on a good choice sometimes, or
So many.
yeah, not being, because I feel like I have similar.
Even now, like recently, I just I constantly saw clips, and I saw all my friends doing clips, and I was like, this is so stupid. We're like writing down the words to all of our jokes so people can watch 30-second clips, and I just was like, I'm not doing that. I made fun of it.
Yeah, I saw that clip where you like the captions were it was you just talking about,
Yeah.
but it wasn't matched up to the thing, and I was like, that's funny. I like that. But you were like, captioning is dumb.
And then I just did it, and I got like immediately like 5,000 more followers, and then I kept doing it, and it doubled, and I was just like, fuck, I guess I have to do this.
I guess this makes sense.
And now I'm like doing it like all the time. I'm like making stuff, and it's like all my friends who have like hundreds of thousands of followers are just like, yeah, I just did this when everybody told you to do it.
I just listened.
Yeah, it was just the obvious direction things were going, and
I keep like recently, because like it'll be like a year or two after a new social media app is going. Like I didn't get on TikTok for probably a year until like my album was going to come out, and I was
Same.
like, oh, I should do that to promote it, right? Whatever. I'm always behind Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. I haven't. And so now I'm like, okay, I got to stop doing that. I'm trying to guess like what's going to be next, and I don't know.
LinkedIn.
I'm off.
It's going to be LinkedIn.
It's going to pop off on
LinkedIn's
LinkedIn.
going to finally pop off
I've
with
been waiting.
LinkedIn stories.
Are you supposed to send stories from work in there, or?
I think looking for a job.
Hey,
I'm in the unemployment line. Yeah, I mean, I would love to. I do think that's like a deficit sometimes in Seattle, like that we're so isolated that a lot of times like those like kind of trends that just like make it easier, like people just don't get them as soon. I think it's changing, obviously.
Yeah.
But I remember like when I started, nobody even like knew how to do, like literally everybody's goal was either to leave or to get a Tribble run.
A lot, yeah.
That was
and
like
a lot
all.
of people, when I first started, a lot of people were like, you shouldn't have a website. Like, you shouldn't, why would you have, like,
People
you just started, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, my brother made my website, which is why it's still not that good. But I was just like, oh, I did, you know, and I was kind of embarrassed. I was like, oh, is this too? And I'm like, no, you should have been putting yourself out online right away.
Yeah.
Because then that's how you get
I mean,
people who
literally
aren't from here.
Everybody, when I started comedy, had business cards.
Yeah.
I have like a lot of famous people's like comedy business card.
Does it have their phone number on it?
Has their home phone number,
Yeah, exactly.
their cell phone number, and
It's
like a
your email,
dumb
your phone,
picture.
which I like made some when I first started too. And then I was like, I can't give it was like, I was 20,
Yeah.
21, and old dudes, creepy dudes afterwards were like, do you have a card? I'm not going to give that guy my card with my phone number on it.
Yeah, I remember that when I first met you, I was like, I think I maybe even tried to tell you, I was like, don't like take anybody's offer to write or something, you know?
I think we talked about this one time before because you were like, that was my move.
I might have done that.
You didn't do it with me, but
No,
I think I've heard you joke about it, but when you did tell me that. You did tell me, you were like, okay, writing is, and I never did, probably because you said that, but I wasn't like one-on-one with some dude I don't know, let's go write. I
like
never did it.
I don't think I ever actually I maybe have said that to like one or two people 10 years ago, but because it's like such an obvious, like, I don't want to. Why would I write with you?
We should write sometime.
Let's go write. Like what it's like skeezy.
Yeah.
But I think that was my, like when anybody was like a new female comic, especially if like somebody was like, hey, my niece started comedy, will you give her some advice? I'd be like,
don't go right.
Male comics are going to try to fuck you,
yeah.
like pretty much nonstop. So just be wary that they don't want to write.
They don't actually. They're not going to help you
in
tag your bits.
Not
or
at all.
whatever.
No.
Well, that's good advice. Okay, so we're ready for your bad ideas. When I sent you kind of the criteria, what did you think of first?
Well, I mean, I've had a slew of like, you know, failed pilots and things like that.
Ooh.
But they were like, they'd never went anywhere. And they weren't necessarily like bad ideas. It was just I wasn't like I think I like to say that I have like the charisma of a dead tree. And so I never had like those kind of bad ideas that like actually went somewhere. I've had some horrible jobs, but I remember this is like my most kind of cringe moment.
Okay.
Was that when I had just gotten sober, maybe had like a year or two of sobriety, and I was not working. I'd done a bunch of like TV writing, and then I kind of fizzled out just because of being a bad employee. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't like, I had no momentum with stand up. It was like a bad time.
Yeah.
And I realized like that was like it coincided with me realizing that like all of the credit card debt that I'd accrued was like crazy. Like I hadn't really paid attention. I'd like done balance transfers and opened new cards, and I was like, it's fine. Like, you know, it's like
whatever. Yeah, something will happen.
$75 a month, whatever. And then all those like trial periods ended, and I was like, wait, what? And so I was like scrambling for work, and LA isn't like a place where you can just pick up like a gig super easily. Like I had lots of gigs in New York where I could like be a mover or do some kind of manual labor and like get by pretty easily. But in LA, I had nothing like that. And I was sober, so I didn't want to go work in like a pot place.
Right.
And, so I had this idea where I bought these giant crystals. I bought these giant crystals I think they're called calcite. Okay. In Utah. I'd been driving through southern Utah, and I went like through this small town by Zion, and this people had just tables of thousands of these. They're like huge.
They're big, though.
I still have a few. and I think they sold them for like $2 or $3 a pound or
Really?
something like
Okay.
that. And I was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go out to Utah, like not call anybody. I'm not gonna do any research. I'm gonna go directly back to that store.
Okay.
And I'm going to buy as much of these crystals as I can.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go back to LA and I'm going to sell them at the Melrose Farmers Market.
Okay. So specifically there.
Because crystals were like a big deal.
They were, and I mean, I'm sure they still are in some regard, but it was like, it's like a stereotypical thing in Los
LA,
Angeles
yeah.
that like when you move there, and have crystals because of this probably.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
think I
very
have
popular.
those crystals. I still have 2 giant crystals because of this.
So were you going to like break them up and then polish them kind of thing? Or
No,
you
no,
were
no.
just
They're
gonna
like,
sell them that big?
they're kind of rough. Yeah, I mean, I was going to buy like a bunch of different sizes, and then I was going to just like sell them for 10 times what I paid or something.
Okay.
I was like, this is bulletproof. I think I called Allie Makovsky, and I was like, will you run the table for me? I'll give you a cut. And Allie was like totally working odd jobs at that point. She was
She's like, sure.
yeah, why not? She was like young and cool, and I was just like, it'll be perfect. Like, you'll be able to do this. And actually, that guy I was talking about earlier, Abby Roberge, was he also wanted to do it. And we stopped in Vegas on the way there, and we gambled a little bit. It's
Okay.
great for somebody who's realizing they're in financial ruin.
Okay.
And he won like $1,500.
Really?
Like right off like he was playing craps and he just like won $1,500. And I was like, I lost $100, and I was just like, this sucks. Got to Utah at like 4 a.m, slept till 8, drove out to this place where I'd bought the crystals before, and they were like 3 or 4 times as much as I'd bought them for. So my whole math that I'd done was like not,
Just off.
it was just off. It would not be profitable to,
Right.
I couldn't get that many. And then also, like, I went to the lady who was running it. She was like kind of this desert lesbian, kind of
Yeah.
stern woman.
Okay.
And she was like, I was like, hey, I bought these in like a year ago for this price. And she was like, yeah. And I was like,
They've gone up.
I was like, I'll buy as much as I can if you give me that rate. And she goes, nah. And I go, please,
Please.
I drove from LA.
Please.
There's a lot of crystals here. Come on, let's move them. And she's just like, no. And I was like, okay. And so I just drove to Utah for no reason.
So you didn't buy any?
I didn't buy. I had this idea like I think when she said no to me, just the entire facade of this being a good idea. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I drove to Utah to buy crystals. I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
Like, what do I think I'm doing? And it was just like just this knot of but the whole way home, I think I rented a car too, maybe even.
I was going to say there's definitely some expense getting over there.
Yeah, I probably spent like $250. And Abby the whole time stoked. He won $1,500. This
Right.
is totally
but it
profitable.
was definitely worth it for him to go.
And I got back to LA and I was just like, fuck. And I think,
Do you know how, like, as far as having the table in the farmer's market, is there a process to getting like a
I
booth?
think it's like a $45
okay,
like
just
per weekend kind of
got it.
deal or something
Just
like
sign
that.
up.
I did that research and
Okay,
I looked
that's
into
good.
it. Like, you don't have to have like a license or anything. You just have to get the table, and then, I would have done a little, like, probably put some sage out or some shit like that. Like, dressed it up a little bit.
It was signed.
But the lady told me, I was like, okay, like, where do you get the crystals? And she was like, oh, they're from like Chihuahua, Mexico. And for a second I was like, how far is Chihuahua, Mexico?
It's not that far.
And yeah, that was like that was like kind of a bottom for me. I was like, fuck, I really messed this one up. Like, not just that deal, like I'd messed up a couple years of career.
So then, I mean, I was going to ask how much time was between when you first saw the stand and then you came back. You said a year?
Yeah, so it had been...
So were you planning this for like a year?
No. It was like a spur of the moment, like got the idea,
And then you just
ran it by
remembered that
Abby.
okay.
It was like, sounds great.
Let's go gamble first.
Yeah, and so I'd gone out there with a girlfriend
Okay.
at the time, and we'd driven, and that's when we'd bought the crystals. And they were like $3 a pound or something. So I think it was like, I mean, my crystal is literally like this big. I got it for like $30. I was like, I'm
Okay.
going to kill
That'd be
it.
great.
Like, this is going to be amazing. And I'd done a lot of stupid stuff. Like, she had been the host of a show I was writing for. And then I started dating her. And they were like, yeah, you can't write for it. You're sleeping with an employee.
Got it.
So
It's not great
so that
career
job went away.
decisions
And there'd been a bunch of
around
other,
that time either.
yeah, a lot of bad career decisions. And I just hadn't been really like focusing on stand-up. So stand-up was kind of this passive thing, and shit just was not going great. And I'd been getting a lot of traction kind of doing like commercial auditioning, but I wasn't booking anything. It
So
was
you
like,
were like getting paid for it then?
no, I'd get a call back, and then they'd be like, you're on hold, which on hold means like you're one of the top 3. They have somebody, but
if
like
that
if
doesn't
they
work
can't
out, then-
go, you're in the basically barrel to go next. And that happened like 6 times that year. So like,
But nothing ever.
yeah, so you're driving to Ocean Parkway in Santa Monica like 3 or 4 times a week. You're auditioning, you're paying rent in LA, and each time you get close to one of those, it's like the possibility between $20,000 and $50,000, but second place gets $0. There's so
And then they get negative gas or
yeah,
whatever it was.
there's
Yeah.
so many jobs in show business where it's like first place is wealth
Is great.
and fame, and second place is negative money.
Yeah.
And nobody really tells you that.
Yeah.
There, and I just was like,
Well, then they're like, just keep collecting your nose or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
like keep going even if you
I
don't get
hate
it. And
that
eventually
shit.
you're like, I'm poor as
Yeah.
fuck. Like I can't do
this.
Yeah, I literally cannot do this.
I lived off. That was like why I had gotten into so much debt, is because I couldn't find gigs, and then I like realized I could pay rent with a credit card, and so I was just like, all right, I'll just pay
I'll just
rent
do
with a
that.
credit card. And then one day I looked at it and I was like, oh, god damn, like, that's
like I did that a few times.
that's a
apparently.
lot of that's like a salary for like a fast food employee. That's an annual salary for a fast food employee. So yeah, it was probably the most demoralized I've ever felt, and I've had some pretty demoralizing experiences in my life.
That is an interesting, like, because obviously you thought about it for a while, and we think you did some background research type of thing. You planned it out. Hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy these crystals, bring them back, and stuff. The bad idea is that it wasn't going to work out financially. So we would have wanted you to not make the decision in the first place to go to Utah. But you already made that decision. So
All I had to do was call. I easily could have saved that entire trip by Googling and calling. But I think I even had this idea where I was like, I'm not going to... Like, here's what this is so embarrassing. I had this idea where I'm like, I'm not going to call. I'm going to show up there and I'm going to play hardball and I'm going to get this deal. And she literally said no to me. And I was
so
like,
fast.
makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Totally. Yeah. Why would you sell them to me?
And the fact that you were like, all right, I'm just not going to get any then. I just came all the way here, but let's not do a smaller amount.
Yeah.
It is funny that because as you're telling this story, I'm like, okay, well, this was a while ago, you know, you've been sober for a long time. So it's like, okay, it's got to be some time there. And then I'm like thinking like, oh, this is like before, I don't know. And then you said, oh, I could have called. It's like, oh yeah, he had a phone, you know, like I
Yeah.
didn't even.
It was like 2016 or something.
Yeah.
It might be even 2017. Like, it's not that long ago. It's not long enough ago where it's like any of it is excusable.
You're right.
Like, there's
We
zero
coulda
excuses.
Probably Googled some stuff.
I could have
too
Googled
about
all of it. I could have Googled where the rocks come from, you know?
That's true.
I really could have Googled who sells crystals and actually
yeah,
gone to a
wholesale
distributor.
crystals or something.
So stupid.
Really got to try again.
Everything happens for a reason, I guess.
Yeah. Did you get out of the credit card debt?
Yeah,
That's
I mean, I'm not like, I still have credit
Right,
cards,
normal, yeah.
but it took me a long time though, because it was like, I don't know, I've never been cash rich. Like I've been successful, but I don't, like, I have friends that make like, you know, $200,000 a month on their Patreons, and I'm like, what are you doing? You know,
Yeah,
and
not
like,
here, but
yeah, nobody. I don't, you know, it's like 4
But
people.
you're right, and that's what it is. Yeah, because it's and then second place is
Zero.
spending money to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the peak of me and Rosebud's Patreon was like, and Rosebud's got a huge following.
Yeah.
And I have a decent following, but
Right.
like not like her. And we had like, you know, we did all the things and we still only made like $1,500 a month.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, yeah, even like for me, that sounds good, but it's not. Yeah, you hear these stories of people being
I have
like,
multiple friends who are like derelict, deadbeat, like they're irresponsible people, but they have this, you know, gift of whatever.
yeah. The longer I am in this industry, the more I realize I need to like care less. Like I feel like the people who are just like, yeah, whatever, I just do this and put this stuff up, and yeah, I don't know. Now I have $8,000. You're like, what?
Yeah, it's so crazy how basically like everybody I know that where I was like wanted to give them a talking to, where I was like, you better
You need
be
to
nice to
get your
people or
stuff
you're not
together.
going to work. Like they're all just own houses and they like getting invited. Like I know multiple people that got invited to Paris last week. They got flown on a private jet to do a Paris fashion weekend comedy show for Louis Vuitton. He like did Louis Vuitton did like a comedy show where the comics were wearing the new line.
Oh,
And like Tyra Banks hosted it, and they stayed in like fine French hotels, and they probably got paid
right.
a lot of money.
And they covered their food or whatever, probably.
I mean, they probably also made more money than we'll make this year
Oh,
for
for
this
sure.
gig.
Yeah.
And they're all the people where they just did whatever the fuck they wanted to. Like they're just, none of them were like, well, I listened to all my, you know, all the
yeah,
advice.
this is
and-
what they said I should do, and I did all that, and it worked. It's
Yeah.
like, no. Cause
I think the main thing is do not be, try not to be like real world, earnest, good boy for this career.
yeah.
Unless you want to work like, I don't know, super clean or something, or
Even
cruise
then,
ships, I don't
yeah,
even know.
yeah. But even, yeah, is that it's not as much like, oh,
It's
fuck
not
you type of money.
fun.
Or
No,
whatever, but
no, yeah.
it's still good money, obviously. Cruise ships. I know a lot of people.
I mean,
do
I know
cruise
some comics that make great livings being clean, but I'm not them.
Right.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
a derelict, you know, former alcoholic, fuck boy, kind of, you know, I was never going to be like, so, you know, cats are crazy.
Yeah, not. I mean, that would maybe it starts there, but that's not where it ends.
Yeah. No, I'm fucking the cat at the end of the bit.
You guys know.
You guys have heard
Oh
that, Jen.
man, I mean, you could have been crystal mogul, but
Thank God. It's like now
yeah,
that
what would have happened if that did work out?
I don't know.
You would have just paid your rent for a while with crystal money, and then
I probably would have kept
moved
trying
on.
to do it. I mean, I think about all those like bad ideas that I had because I've always had this thing with comedy where it was never my plan when I started. It was like I was like kind of a whim, and then I really liked it. But I'd always thought, oh, I'll go back to grad school, or oh, I'll get like a real job, and I'll keep doing this. But like, you know,
It
whatever.
won't be your career.
It won't be my
basically.
career.
Yeah.
And then eventually it became like, oh, this might actually be possible.
Yeah.
But I still never had that like belief that it could be possible, I guess. Like I would see people around me, but I would never go like, okay, so this is. And then by the time I actually got like writing jobs and it was like, oh, this actually is a job, and I was doing enough on the road to kind of make a lot of money,
Yeah.
I was like not taking it seriously or something. I was like still like kind of like and still to this day I have this very like, oh, I can't, like I don't sleep in late, I don't like, you know, I don't let bills go, I
Yeah.
don't skip traffic tickets, and it's all like that shit doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, it's just be a dirtbag.
I know. I wish I was better. I'm like, I don't know if it's paranoia or just. I think speaking of crystals, I believe in karma so much, or like deep rooted, that I like am just like, but I've worked so hard for so long, and I've done what I was supposed to. I'm nice to people. Like
Yeah.
eventually something's gonna work out because I was doing what I was supposed to do, and that it turns out it's just not true. So it's just like,
Yeah, I mean, it's like
I don't think anybody's gonna hate me, but I don't think, like you're saying, like that's not the person who's like blown up. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were working hard and a good person and all that stuff.
No, that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. I mean, I think a lot of show business, like one thing I will say is I think that the most consistent thing you will get work and profitability and quality of life out of his friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
Like those are the people that will take care of you. And that also goes with like booking gigs, booking writing jobs, things like that. Like all those things are personal relationships, unless you have that rare occurrence where like powerful people see you and they decide they want to advocate on your
Yeah, that
behalf.
just doesn't happen as often as people like to think that it does. But
It's pretty rare. But at the same time, I think it's like a double-edged sword. You just have to like find that thing that you do that you like doing, or you can stomach doing. It's one or the other. Like, you know, like I think about certain things that I wanted to do. Like I thought of ideas like, oh, I'll do this show, like this web series, or I'll do
Right.
this character, or I'll do this whatever, you know, like I've always had these kind of like zany, like, oh, I'll try this thing. And then I didn't really do it because it fizzled out, you know?
yeah,
But then you think about like that guy that does like Uncle Roger, you know, that like YouTube guy. He's from, I think he's Singaporean.
Blake knows.
He's one of the biggest YouTubers in the world.
Okay.
He doesn't talk like that.
I mean, there's quite a few like very popular characters like that, you know.
Yeah, but that's not his voice.
So then he has to
He's
just,
an American.
just do it all the time.
Yeah, and like he speaks in this very thick fake accent, and he's like not that guy, but the world wants, like, I'm so glad that I didn't get stuck in something
Yeah,
like that.
that seems like that's happening a lot now, because you see, I mean, I think people who got popular on social media, TikTok or Instagram or something, and then they're like touring now, you know, they're going to comedy clubs and stuff. And some of them, I don't know if some of them did comedy before, but some of them didn't. But then, yeah, it does seem like the live situation you've set yourself up for is like, you have to stick to this, and they're going to get upset. Oh yeah, Drew Lynch posted a video the other day because he had a stutter, right?
Yeah.
And he's worked really hard, gone to speech therapy, and he doesn't have it anymore. And people will come up to him after shows and be like, "Oh, you should have kept the stutter. It was
Yeah.
funnier." Like he had to work really
Happens
hard
to
yeah, it's just
like people
oh.
that lose a bunch of weight. People who are like, I liked you when you were fat. And you're like,
Remember when you were fat and sad and you felt bad about yourself? Could you do that again?
and like, there's also, I mean, thank God I never had like one thing that I dodged really quick was when I quit smoking pot is when like stoner comedy had like kind of blew up, like weed cooking shows
Yeah.
and panel shows where everybody's high. I'm so glad I missed that because
Yeah.
I would have totally like just I would have been like
Stayed
wearing
in
like
it.
fucking marijuana leaf sunglasses and a Bob Marley shirt.
Yeah,
And
you would have been like the
Yeah.
Northwest weed guy.
and then one thing that we've seen happen over the last like probably 4 years is like a lot of people like leaned into being like right wing.
Yeah.
And I know people that are that is not their value system at all, but
that's
they
where
got a little traction and now they have to.
Yeah.
Like I know this comic in New York who was like Brooklyn, UBC, Union Hall, like sweetheart characters, goofy, but he was anti-vax.
Okay.
And then he like people loved his anti-vax material, and because of that he just adopted all of the other right-wing points, and now that's all he does. And like he can work somewhat in the city, but like nobody really wants to, like nobody's ever going to hire him for a TV show,
Right.
because they're like, no, you have
No.
like all this anti-trans stuff on Twitter. And he's like, well, I guess you're discriminating because of my beliefs. And people are like,
Oh, God.
yeah, dude, good luck with that.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Well, go do that somewhere else. Yeah. Oh man. I mean, yeah, it's just a tricky situation, but
it's a lot of fun.
it is. It's really unpredictable. It keeps you on your toes, but you can always sell crystals if you need to.
I mean, I think the number one thing with comedy now is you can find your audience.
Yeah.
And you can make like this. You can make your own shit. And there's such a niche marketplace now. Like there's so many people now that are famous, but most people don't know them.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll see somebody like, you know, on something and I'll be like, who the fuck is that? And they'll be like, oh, he has like 11 million
Right.
TikTok followers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never
heard
seen
of this
him.
person.
Like I didn't see Mr. Beast until like somebody was like, should we get Mr. Beast for this thing? And I was like, and then somebody else was like, can we get him? And I was like, who the fuck is Mr.
Yeah,
Beast?
exactly. It's weird. Well, it's just he or whoever runs his channel commented on one of my videos like 2 or 3 years ago, and somebody's like, "Oh my God, Mr. Beast like this," and I was like, "I don't fucking know who that is." Like, I had no idea. I was like, "Cool, thanks, man." Like, didn't
awesome,
yes.
Senor Beast.
Exactly. You're just guessing. I don't know, but I mean, you're right. Which I've always been hopeful for, is that I do want people to come and see me on purpose, right, and know what they're getting into because they really like it, and so being able to find a niche audience just that you've cultivated is kind of cool. But again, I'm just kind of behind on exactly the exposure.
Well, it's exhausting too, because it's like now you're expected at a certain point, which is like this point in the beginning of this little journey into the kind of digital. You're supposed to be a producer, a content creator, editor, performer, writer, like all these things. And like it's basically like what normal people, and like literally like, you know, like the people that are really good at it, like Schultz, for instance. I think Schultz has 40 employees probably.
Yeah, that's what I
and
think.
It's like you can't do this as one person.
No.
So it's hard, but I think like lots of stuff changes, and you just gotta find that little niche, and then hopefully not like sell your soul in the process.
Yeah, it's a real art, you know, just use your credit cards.
We'll always have local Northwest gigs.
We will.
To back up.
That's true. On the way back down, they'll still want to book us.
Yeah, just a bunch of casino circuits in the Pacific Northwest.
That's fine.
Did you ever play Bullwinkles? Pasco, Tri-Cities?
Oh, no.
John Fox's casino gig?
No, but I've heard about it.
Awful gig. Like mini casino, like tiny casino. And they had a room, like a banquet room, which wasn't even big, off of the game floor.
Okay.
And it was, what they did is they like every, I don't know, weekend night, they put out free pizza. And then like as soon as they dropped the free pizza, you like ran up there and you like told jokes.
Just while people were getting the pizza.
Yeah, hoping that people would stay for the show. And they did not get you a hotel. They had rented a room in an office park that they turned into a hotel room. And it was like, just like, you know,
you have ceilings like that. Like
it was like this room.
Yeah.
It was this room. And like there was literally like next door to you is like a trucking distributor, and like the 2 doors down is a meth head.
I've stayed in multiple places where you're like, this is an office building. I don't think you're allowed to like sleep in here, but whatever.
And also just like, ugh.
Oh yeah. It feels like not good. Well, maybe doing stand-up is the bad idea.
Yeah, we should all just get real jobs and do this as a hobby. There's no reason. You can work like entry level at Amazon and make like $140K.
That is true.
So
what are we doing?
What are we doing?
All right. Well, okay. So if people want to follow you or could join your niche group.
If you want to get some crystals on the low, you can follow me at I'm Andy Haynes, the conjunction, not I am. Like the letter I, the letter M, Andy Haynes. I'm touring, so I'll be in Seattle tonight, obviously, and tomorrow. So you probably missed it, asshole.
Next week.
But then I'll be in Denver in March, and
nice.
I'm going to be in the UK, a little in between there.
Oh my gosh, I mean, not to be like, keep posting all your clips because I love them, but I do. When you were in the UK talking about their conservative people versus ours, I've like told other people that joke. I was like, my friend Andy put this joke, it's so funny. But it really did make me laugh. So yeah, follow so you can see all the good clips and stuff, and then come see Andy live. Very, like, one of my favorite comics that I've ever worked with and seen. So worth seeing. Not that any other person that I'm like, meh, didn't really mean it. I really mean it. Yeah, thank you so much for doing it. And yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe, like, all that stuff. And if you're listening on an platform, review, rate, those things.
Follow Monica. She's doing a passive thing. Follow Monica, goddammit. And follow this channel and subscribe to the Patreon, you cheapskates.
Yeah.
Is that good?
That was pretty good.
All right.
We have YouTube memberships, but that's close. That's fine.
Do the YouTube membership.
I'm going to use this.
Ass. Is that good?
That's pretty good.
All right, cool.
That was really, you're working on the alpha thing now?
Yeah, I should change the tone of my voice. It was
good.
very soft.
Did it scare you? You look a little...
Bro. Listen, bro. Subscribe.
Can you say, but right now just keep watching dumb pitches?
But right now, just keep watching dumb pitches.
That's pretty good.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Your weird.
Yes.